That man should be arrested immediately.
Hello. I am back. I'm back. So, the other day, I had issues with Pika OS on my streaming computer. Now I'm still using it on my gaming computer because honestly, it's literally the best thing I could use. And if anything were to happen to it, I'd just say fuck it and use Bazite. But it's either here nor there. For the streaming computer, I needed something that's not gonna fucking crash on me. I think it was either due to user error or it was due to you know, things that were installed for that or things being used for OBS. Because for a good while it was working just fine, but then it, like in the middle of this streaming or playing a game, it immediately crashed, and I'm just like wondering, you know, I was wondering like what the fuck was going on, because I was already pissed off due to the previous things I was talking about, and I wasn't like entirely certain as to what the fuck was even happening at that point. So, you know, I decided to, you know, test out some OSs last night. I was like, you know what? You know, the gaming computer, you know, Pika OS is perfect for that for now. And the streaming computer, I tried to see if I can install something like Fedora on it. Well, Fedora doesn't have Xorg support. And this is an issue that I've been having for some distros, that I need to have certain features because I think it's just a better way to do that. I am currently using the release candidate 1 version of OBS on Tuxedo OS after getting everything set up and installed and actually running correctly. So it's fine. It does have that weird X Wayland windowing issue, but that's like literally the least amount of issues I'm having with it. I had problems to where, and I don't know if it was like dependencies that was in Pika OS, or if it was how Debian handles Ubuntu dependencies and shit like that, you know, when you're trying to backport stuff or do stuff like that. I was having a significant amount of issues, not to mention every time I'd go to stream information to go ahead and change something, the entirety of the you know, OBS would just fucking crash. That didn't happen on Tuxedo OS, because obviously Tuxedo OS has the correct dependencies that make it more stable to use. That way I can use something like enhanced broadcasting. Luckily I did back everything up, because initially I was like, oh, it's not an issue, you know, I'm not gonna change OSs, but I had a feeling, you know, I'd go just back everything up, put it on a drive, and just be okay with that for now. And plus I didn't want to like have to redo everything either. So that's why I have backups of like, you know, the whole stream setup and all that stuff. That way it's not really like screwing with everything. Especially with like all the plugins I need, like Pipewire, audio capture. I need game capture, because you 100% need this for like VTubing on Linux. If you don't want to use like window captured with chroma keys. I also needed to get my my closed captioning things. I do like to have captions for people who can't, you know, who are deaf. So it has an accessibility option for them. But the way I see it, it's like Pika OS is an amazing distro, and if you're not using it for what I was using it for, you'd be completely fine to use whatever version of OBS you can use. What I was using it for, and I would say it would be my fault, the reason as to why this happened, is, you know, according to me, I did see that it did work for a while, and up until like the latest update, and something fucked up really bad. It actually ended up crashing the entirety of the kernel as well, which to me was very odd. And I was just like, well, you know, I have streams I have to do, I have videos I have to record, I have things I have to do, and it's nothing against Pika OS, because I'm still using it on my gaming computer. It's not like I said fuck Pika OS or anything like that. It's more like I needed something stable and to be able to at least use it on my streaming computer. And the other option is if I didn't use like something like Tuxedo OS to get it all set up, I'd probably be back on Linux Mint with the streaming computer, because I did check and Linux Mint does have the 570 drivers. So if I wanted to update that and I wanted to use Linux Mint, since it's still using Xorg, I'd be able to. And that's one of the main issues that I'm having with like when distributions like Fedora, Ubuntu, you know, like they're not packaging Xorg anymore, and they're not also including X Wayland, which is a big issue because if you're not doing that, especially if programs like OBS haven't caught up yet, then what the fuck's the point of just going on an only Wayland thing? Like being on Wayland is fine because for gaming and watching things, you know, having that HDR support, that's great. But if you have a streaming computer and you want to stream off of it, you are better off just being on Xorg, at least for now. Now now this is on Wayland, but I do have this running in through Wayland. So if I do have issues, since the recommended setting for Tuxedo OS is Xorg, so if I do have issues, I can just go back to that with that because all I'm doing is streaming on it. I'm streaming, recording videos, making content, things that I need to use, things that I want to get done, so I don't have to continue to go through the distro hopping hell. Because some people might like distro hopping. I fucking hate it. I honestly do not like having to reset up everything. And this is different from like, oh, something fucked up, let me reinstall it, and then we get all set up in like 20 minutes. Like, that's easy to do on Linux Mint. Linux Mint just gives you everything, right? Do that really easy. Pika OS is the same way for using it as a gaming computer. You can literally get it set up in less than 20 minutes, actually, which is really good. And if you're just running Pika OS through Wayland, it's gonna be more stable. More on that later. But and I'm not faulting Pika OS, like because this might just be my user error, and it might just be an issue that I would have had. But I also was trying to use Ubuntu last night, and I stayed up to like 6 a.m. That's why I decided to start the stream. I stayed up till 6 a.m. just trying to get distributions, you know, trying to get it working on the streaming computer. Well, Ubuntu has the problem of packaging things differently, and I didn't want to run the LTS. It's not really the up-to-date version. That's not what people really recommend. And if you want to get most of your packages installed, like ATM Multistream, you want to get, like, most of these packages online are not even on Plucky Puffin yet. They're currently still on Ubuntu Noble. And the only distros I know that are at least up to date enough, but are not like really super far behind on a lot of things, as much as people want to exaggerate, is Tuxedo OS in Linux Mint. I would have said Pop OS is still on Jimmy Jellyfish, so I'm not even going to even include that. Because they're like in a very weird spot. Cool, can't wait. Yo, what's up? What's up, Furry? How you doing? But yeah, like that's like the whole situation that I had to deal with, and I spent like hours last night just trying to like figure it out. I even went as far as to going to install Fedora again, checking to see if I could install the Plasma X11 session, and then trying to get OBS to run in X Wayland. That did not work at all. They straight up just do not let that work. So you have to use like either a Debian distribution that has it pre-configured, or you have to use an Ubuntu-based distribution. And I don't really like, snaps are not great because I understand snaps have performance problems on distributions like Ubuntu and Kubuntu, and I haven't really like used them excessively because I did disable them. But then it kind of like got me to the point where it's like, if I was using Kubuntu, maybe I should have ran the LTS on it. Then I was thinking about, well, if I didn't want snaps to begin with and I wanted to make sure my system updates and it doesn't get fucked up, well, what I could do is I could just run Tuxedo OS, because Tuxedo OS is just Kubuntu without snaps. And it took me a little bit to think about that, because I was like, okay, what's going on with this? Let me try to get this running. And luckily enough, when I did install Tuxedo OS on this, outside of the whole, it's got its own like control center, which is cool. Outside of the Aquarius control, when I went to the control center to go check the drivers, apparently my computer qualifies as a Tuxedo OS computer. So after doing that, and after trying to install game mode on this computer, which I'd only use it for like a couple things anyways. This computer, the streaming computer, isn't really being used for all that much, other than like the things I need it to be used for, which is a really good thing. Unlike the gaming PC, which is not just only used for gaming, it's also used for video editing too, so it's a more powerful computer. But I don't really have any issues on it. And that's the thing, because I only do like one thing on it. one or a couple things on it at a time. I don't have like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 programs open like I do on the streaming computer. And right now this seems like it's fine because, you know, the everything seems to be more stable as of right now, and I think that this might be just how things are being packaged. And I can't blame anybody. I mean, like, technically I can only blame myself on this because, you know, it could have been how I would have configured the Pika OS system. It could have been how, like, you know, how certain things are conflicting with other things. Something on Pika OS is causing OBS to crash, and they are saying it's a Chromium bug, but the Chromium bug isn't happening on Tuxedo OS. It's just not happening. Like, every time I go to change something on there, it's just not, I'm not having that issue. It's not giving me the problem on that. So it's gotta be some sort of dependency conflict or dependency issue with OBS or the build of OBS that they're using, which is the Ubuntu one. Which technically they should be using the Ocular one, now that I think about it. But if they were to build that and get that working, get it more stable, make sure it doesn't crash on people, you know, especially if they're using the NVIDIA card, because you know, the NVIDIA card's great for streaming. You know, that obviously wasn't my first option, but it's the only option I had at the time. But you know, it's fine, and I'm not gonna like say, oh, don't use I'm not gonna say, oh, don't use Pika OS. Like, Pika OS is one of those OSs that just work. It just works for what you're using it for. Same thing with Linux Mint, Tuxedo OS, Bazzite, SteamOS even. Like, you gotta determine like what you're gonna be using stuff for. Like, you could even go as far as to say, oh, you just need a good streaming computer. You need a gaming computer. Well, if you're just using one computer for gaming, you know, the gaming computer could just use the immutable distro. You could just run Bazzite, you could just run fucking SteamOS on a gaming computer. Then for the streaming computer, you can run something like Pika OS, Nobara, Fedora 42 if you wanted to, depending on what your use case is. And then, or even like Casio OS or stuff like that. Like, I would say like getting more control over your streams is probably a better priority than trying to fully, you know, control the gaming computer. Again, your mileage may vary on that, but that's just the way I think about it. Because like, if I'm trying to stream and play games, I want my streaming computer to be as solid as possible. And if something ever happens to Tuxedo OS, I'm just gonna put Linux Mint on there, because Linux Mint's always going to be a solid distribution that people are not going to like, because it does not have because it doesn't have up-to-date Wayland support. But I think the reason why people don't like it is because it doesn't, you know, it's not up to date in the sense of like, you know, the compositor that it's using. Like, the drivers are up to date for the most part. And it seems like they are catching up lately. So hopefully by like, you know, Linux Mint 26, they'll have like Wayland on there, and then Wayland will be fully working. Hopefully by that time, the whole Chromium, you know, issue will be resolved and there won't be any more problems. And the main issue that I like, you know, have with some of these distros is if I'm trying to actively use my computer, I don't want to have to like fight with it. And that's the last thing I want to do. Like, you'll have like an average Linux user tell you, oh, you could just do this, 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 and this. This is my suggestion and stuff like that. Well, I used to be a Windows user. And I'm pretty fresh when it comes to the Linux game on a lot of things. Despite me making the guide, despite me doing a bunch of other things, despite me, you know, knowing how to use Linux now. I am also not going to want to do it the long way. At least most of the time. Like, installing game mode is one thing. It's easy to do. Installing game capture is another thing. You know, it's just like not that hard to do either. But like, you're doing very minimal tasks in your terminal to get that done, and that's already, you know, always outlined by the guide. Stuff like Pika OS has that straight out the gate, which is really good for people who just want to, like, you know, throw it on a laptop, get a PNG tuber going, and then have it as a mobile thing going. That way they're not like dealing with too much. So I don't think that like me using Tuxedo OS is like a hit on anybody, but it's more like just me needing something stable. Like, it's not even on the most up-to-date kernel or KDE. It's still on KDE 3, and it's on kernel 6.11, which is the same kernel Linux Mint is also on. So like, you You know, eventually they'll update it. Maybe I will install like something like Xanmod. Maybe I'll install something like the Zen kernel, you know, depending on what I feel like doing. You know, if I ever have any sort of kernel panics. Or the LiquorX kernel. Like, they all basically do similar things, and they are on the most recent stuff. I mean, that's just basically how I would treat it, but I'd probably just keep it on the default for now. As far as gaming is concerned, let's play this fucking game. That's all I really got to say on that. Because, like, it's just exhausting to have to deal with that. And I think any new Linux user would also fucking hate that. Like, imagine you just start using Linux, and then the thing you're trying to get to work just doesn't work the way you want it to. I feel like if you're going to have a successful... I feel like if you're going to have a successful distribution or a successful, you know, migration of Windows users to Linux, you need to make the Linux experience as easy as possible. You don't need to make it convoluted. You don't have to fucking make it to where people have to fight with it. Because the moment people start making stuff convoluted, the moment people start having to fight with it, is the moment they don't use it. It's the moment that they stop using it, actually. They're like, oh, this is complicated, I'll go back to Windows. And that's what people do. Or, oh, this is complicated, I'll go ahead and reinstall Mac or something. And the thing is, I just didn't like the fact that I had like a kernel panic. I didn't like the fact that I did not have a stable system. And that's basically what ended up stopping me from like having to even continue playing the game last night. Because, you know, I just got everything set up, and I wanted to make sure it's all good. So, like, my honest recommendation is if you want to have maybe the best gaming experience ever, or streaming experience, if you have the ability to get two computers, do it. Because you could run one distribution on another one, and make sure it's probably a stable distribution. You know, it gets updates, but doesn't get updates all the map. You know, it gets updates, but it's not gonna like be so bleeding edge that you just can't use it. Because I have no issue with bleeding edge updates. What I have an issue with is when they start taking away features. And that's why I really wanted to use Fedora. But I just could not use Fedora because of that. Because they do not allow Xorg. They don't allow X-Wayland. It doesn't work. And I know it doesn't work because I tried to do the environment variable stuff. So that's an issue. Especially since Wayland technically isn't the standard right now. People want to say it's a standard. People want to force that Wayland is the standard. Wayland will become the standard. People are phasing out Xorg, but Xorg is still very much a standard right now. Especially on a lot of DEs. Like, what DEs are getting rid of it? GNOME and fucking KDE, just two of them. Two DEs out of, like, LMDE, XFCE, Cinnamon, fucking, I don't know. Like, I think that's I don't know if there's any more than that, but, like, there's definitely, like, more distros that are still in Xorg than there are people who do not have Xorg. And I feel like what's going to end up happening is it's going to be down to the DE at some point. people are going to be like, okay, well, you know, KDE doesn't let me do what I need to do, and I need Xorg to actually work. And then they're going to start like installing like the Cinnamon DE or XFCE to get it like what they need to get done, you know, get their work done. As much people like to meme and say, oh, do Linux users even use their OSs because they distro hop all the time? Well, what would prevent distro hopping is if you didn't get rid of features. If there was a valid feature set, like it shouldn't just be just Wayland. It shouldn't just be just Xorg. It should be like there should be an environment that is basically X Wayland, where you can choose to have specific programs like FlatSeal does it to run a program in Wayland or Xorg. That's how it should work. It should be unified. It should not be like not unified, because like they want to make it unified in a way with X Wayland, right? But when you're having distributions like Fedora 42 fucking taking away Xorg, and you go ahead and reinstall Xorg, and you try to run something in X Wayland, it does not open up in X Wayland. It refuses to. Then that's a fucking problem. They should at least give you the option to choose which programs you can open in different situations, but in a better situation. Which they sort of do now with Flatpak, and they sort of do now with like environment variables. But that needs to be more like, if they want to make it a better Windows experience, they have to give a better reasoning for things to work. You should get the option to just, you know, open up edit application and choose Xorg or Wayland and just run the program that way. Because Linux distributions have the valid protocols to run stuff like that. But the problem is, people probably haven't thought about that. Or just do this, you know? Oh, no more Xorg? Just make a whole DE and it's just X Wayland. And you just open up your you open up your programs, and it will open it up the best way possible. For OBS, it'd be Xorg. For other programs, probably Wayland. You know, and you just choose it that way. Like, there's already a thing called X Libre, but it's being maintained by one person. And that will eventually lead to burnout if other people do not get on that shit. And the only thing, like, that I could probably think of is like, oh, who else would also contribute to X Libre? Well, at least for a while, I think the Linux Mint Foundation would, because, or even the Tuxedo OS, because like if they want to keep those programs running on Xorg, you know, they're gonna start helping with that shit. If not, then once Xorg's phased out, and a lot of these distributions stop supporting it, then it's gonna be down to the DE, and then you're gonna be forced to install a different DE. Like if Tuxedo OS or Pika OS stopped using Xorg, I'd probably have to like switch them. I'd probably have to switch one of them to like Cinnamon or XFCE or LMDE, because like, well, XFCE or what the fuck Lubuntu uses, you know, shit like that. And that's like the main issue I was having. Like when you start removing feature sets or removing code and not backing up that code somewhere else, or even being forked, then it creates issues. Like, do I think it's going to be permanently gone? Fuck no, I don't. What I think is going to happen is there's going to be a situation to where people are going to be like, you know what? You know what? We want to have both. And then they're going to find a way to put both on their computer. And it's going to work how it's intended to. But since Discord, since OBS is a Qt application, I have to run it via X Wayland in order to get things I want it to get it to do working. Because I could use the Flatpak on these other distributions and get the same thing going. But the problem with that is, if you want to get certain plugins, you have to use a shared LD library thing, which isn't guaranteed to be fixed. So then it creates another issue to where you now have to go through that hoop to just get it to work. Now, luckily, I was able to get this done and get it working, so I'm streaming now. But normally that would just, you know, imagine you're streaming, you're having like all this momentum, and your stream crashes, or you start having fucking dropped frames out of nowhere, which I don't even know where the fuck that even came from last night. You just start having dropped frames out of nowhere, and then it starts getting to the point to where now you're getting super angry, now you're getting mad. You're already mad because of a different situation, because the person you commissioned your stuff isn't fucking doing it, basically, or they haven't gotten back to you. And then that builds up, and the anger builds up, and then all of a sudden, on the cherry on top, because you're having fucking, you know, other issues outside of streaming, dropped frames on OBS during your stream, and then all of a sudden you go ahead and open up Fire Dragon, and you start noticing your computer's freezing, and you're like, what the fuck's going on? And then and then your whole computer has a kernel panic and crashes. So like, obviously, like in my position, since I make content online, or try to record for content most of the time, whenever I start, you know, working on it, outside of like streaming, because streaming I've been doing for a long time. YouTube videos is a different thing. When you start having that problem, then it starts to really get you, and you're like, all right, well, I have to do something about this. So I had the same issue when Nobara gave me a black screen on my gaming computer. It's like, hey, I have games I want to play. I do not want to have to not be able to use my computer. I don't want to jump through 50 hoops just to get it done, just because the maintainer of Nobara threw an update at it that fucking bricked it. It's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting. But it's 100% exhausting. Like, if something ever happened to Pika OS, I'd say fuck it and just put Bazite on it. So no, Bazite works. Bazite's super stable. It's also up to date. You might not be able to change core libraries on it, but it will work. That, or I'd probably end up putting like a different OS on it. I don't know. I just know, like, that's where my mind would be headed. Like, what can I use now? What's gonna be more stable? But so far, it's like Pika OS on the gaming computer has been super stable because I'm not like doing more than one thing on it. For the streaming computer, I'm doing basically a lot of things on it. This is like a huge difference. Open up Mission Center. And the thing is, like, Pika OS, I mean, Tuxedo OS is handling this is just fine. I think somebody messaged me, or I ended up getting a notification somewhere else.
実に興味深い現象だ。ここは新宿だ。仕事で探し物をしていてね、偶然通りかかって君を見つけたのさ。自分で言うのもなんだが、あらましは嘘のような誠だ。今は中野にある私の事務所へ向かっている。そこで詳しい事情を聞かせてもらおう。ここは新宿だ。仕事で自分で言う。今は中野にある。いや、周囲に君以外の。ひょっとすると君の友達も。そうか。友達のことは気にするなとは言えないが、まずは自分自身のことを最優先に考えたまえ。私が誰だ。最初に名乗るべきだったな。私はしがない探偵さ。なるほど、経緯は把握した。君が電脳空間からログアウトして出現したという新宿のあの場所は、エデンへログインした場所と同じか、あるいはその付近なのかな。では今こうして私と会話している君、肉体から精神データが分離してしまい個別、それとも何らかの理由。いずれにしろ奇妙奇天烈な現段階では状況証拠による単純。まずは君が。ほう、電脳犯罪事件をはじめ多種多様な超常現象事件の解決に確かな実績を誇るクレミ探偵事務所だ。君の身に起こった怪異的現象の謎を解明するのにこれほど頼もしい場所はないだろう。そして君が腰掛けているのは依頼人用のソファー。何、大船に。さて話を戻すとしよう。君がどこでログインしたかだが、 それよりも何よりも前に君、その姿ではまともに外を歩くこともできまい。それにとても不安定な状態に思える。じっくりと観察して確信したが、君はまさにデータの塊、デジタル体そのものだ。しかし君は私の声を聞き、ソファーに腰掛け会話している。現実世界の物理法則に従っている証拠だ。
Okay. I should be able to access the software sources just fine. Let's check this out. I think it's stupid that you have to do it like that. Can I like... I could pin that. See here.
つまりリアル特性を持ったデジタル体、反電脳体と名付けるとしよう。君の体がデータで構成されているならば、見た目をどうにかすること自体はさほど難しくないだろう。適合するデータを取り込み修復すればいい。君は基本的にはエデン内で使用されているアバターと構造を同じくしているはず。クーロンの放置データの中にアバターパーツのデータが見つかれば上々なわけだな。問題はその状態でログインできるかどうかだな。なんだ？テレビがどうかしたか？こっちよ。
Oh shit. Oh shit. I didn't mean to do that. Oh. Ah. Alright. Gonna save. Uh oh. Ooh, a critical hit. I really want a metal Greymon. So hopefully I can get one. Metal Greymon virus. Let's go. I'm also raising V pets right now, so yeah, they need to get a bit. What I really want to get is I really want to get a Digimon color. I really want the Digimon colors. I want all 6 pendulums and I want all 5 Digimon colors. That's what I want. And I also want to get the Monster Hunter ones as well. Luckily, I think the first one I'm going to get though is the Godzilla one. Oh, they healed. What I want them to do, though, no joke, I want them to do this. I want Bandai. Like they did in the PSP days, because I might end up playing the PSP game of this. I want them to get every Digimon from the Digimon versions 1 through 5. All the Pendulums, the Pendulum Zs, the Digimon Xs. Even the Godzilla and Monster Hunter as DLC. I want them to release a Steam game that has competitive online battles, and you get to raise your Digimon just like a V-Pet on Steam. Then they need to make a device that lets you hook up your V-Pet to take one Digimon with you and raise it on that. Alternatively, I want them to also make a device that you can hook DIM cards into for a Digimon. Use that, and use that as like a regular Digimon device. But then you're raising like whatever's in the DIM card, not a whole line on the DIM card. I'd love that. Honestly, I would. That, or I want somebody to make a device that's basically like a modified Digimon color, or a like its own device too, and then you just hook up the DIM cards from the Vital Bracelet into it, and then you raise your Digimon, and then you can like export your Digimon to your computer and then raise another one. They should do that. That'd be 100% a good thing. So that's what I hope. But I also hope I can get the Digimon colors 1 through 5 and the Digimon pendulums 1 through 6. That'd be cool. Great game, but keep playing it, but it's hard. It will help if you get Digi farms and more money, yeah. I'm already playing on hard mode. Oh. Oh, Digivolve? Not possible. And also Digivolve. Okay. So this is basically it. Technically, this is like a V-Pet. Okay, I like that. I have a feeling the Digimon story games are going to be fun to play, but I really like Digimon World games. The Digimon World games are the closest thing to a V-Pet you can get. You can network battle people? Oh shit. You can battle people. Oh, this game has ranked? That's fucking crazy. I did not even know this game had ranked. That's wild. Mirror dungeon. Interesting. Hacking skill. Hopefully I can get more Digimon. I use the restroom, I'll be right back. BRB.
無理しちゃダメだよ。 物理法則に理知
邪魔するよ教授。
相変わらず。
おっとすまん。
それとその呼び方もいい加減改めてもらえませんか。子供の頃の呼び名ですよ。人前ではさすがに気恥ずかしい。
きょうちゃんこそいくつになっても。
それでいつからそこに、どこまで話を聞きました。
今来たところだが、なんかまずい。ああ、先客がいたのか。すまんすまん。依頼話の最中だったのかな。
いえ、この子は依頼人ではありますが、少し毛色の異なる存在でして。
ほう、では何者だい。
紹介しておこう。父の代からの付き合いでね、窮地の中だ。信頼もしている。電脳犯罪を専門に追う本庁
見かけによらずと思っただろう。まあ実際のところ見かけ通りのはみ出し者だ。 なきゃ探偵っておっと失言失言
それで何か事件ですか？依頼でしたらどうぞソファーにかけてお待ちを。今おいしい。
いやいい。エデン症候群の件で少し気になる噂を
聞かせてい。
ん
この子なら大丈夫ですよ、おじさん。実はエデンに絡む特殊な関係者です。それにある種のスペシャリストになりうる素質があります。話を聞かせておくべきでしょう。
そうか、京ちゃん。話ってのはエデン症候群患者を隔離している例の特別病棟の噂だよ。おっと、未来の専門家さんにはエデン症候群の説明が必要かい？
お願いします。
エデン症候群ってのはエデンを利用中の年々患者数は増えているが、原因セントラル病院にはエデン症候群患者のが妙に上白の今回の件も近くセントラ
はい。
発症患者の増加、症状、普段の病院で人の出入りが激しくなっている。これは何かある。
ようやくですね。
ああ、やっとだ。おっと、そろ悪いが乾杯はまたの機会にしよう。じゃあまたな。君、京ちゃんの入れたコーヒーには気をつけろ。特に俺はいつか京ちゃんのコーヒーをそういったシャレになんねえよ。
聞いてのエデン症候群絡み、そしてこれからさらにセキュリティエデンで異変が起き異常。これは偶然いいな。私はこれからセントラル病。君もぜひ同行してくれたま。君の状態に関する情報も得られるかもしれない。求めよ、さらば与えられん。いや、君の場合開けごまが適当か。 どうしてここは関係者以外立ち入り禁止のどうやって入ったの？警備員に質問をひょっとしてそうエデン症候群に何か質問があれば誤解しないでください。私は治った人がいた。私が知っている人で。でもきっと待つしかないんで。どうなるってそれ以外の症状は聞いたことあります。この患者、最近運ばれてきた患者ですね。この人、そうですか。それは上白もエデン症候群を治療したいんです。そのためにエデンのなんとかしなきゃいけないんです。私が。
会話の弾んでいるところを邪魔してすまないが、招かれ。
こんにちは、警備員さん。お仕事お疲れ様。ああ、今日もいい男ね。
リエさん、今日は来ないはずなのに。
警備員さんのたくましい。ああ、我慢できない。つ
岸辺様、仕事中ですので。
ああ、お堅いのね。
岸辺理恵、背後のお出ましか。上白の上役が何をしに来たのか気になるが、必要な情報は手に入れた。長いは無用。そこを出なさい。おっと、ではロビーで落ち合おう。慌てず騒がずな。
隠れて早く。
ゆうこちゃん、お元気？
リエさん、今日はどうしたんですか？入室予定者のリストにはなかったと思いますが。
ちょっとねえ。大好きなゆうこちゃんの顔が突然見たくなっちゃったんだな。
私が一人でいるのが心配なんですか？
なんかリエちゃんセンサーがビビビッときたのよ。またゆうこちゃんが暗い顔してるんじゃないかなって。ほら、辛いでしょ、いろいろ。
別に。
強がっててもお姉さんには分かっちゃうんだな。ところで 暇？
はい。
いうこと？私たちの他に
そんなこと。
それともあそこの部屋とからしいじゃなくてあやしいほら観念して出ていらっしゃい。ゆうこちゃんずらこのリエお姉様がゆうこちゃんの保護者として責任を持って手取り足なんだ誰もいないじゃない。でもゆうこちゃん別に構わないのよ。私なんてゆうこちゃんくらいの時にはうふふそれじゃあ本命の彼の様子覗きに行こっか。私たちが揃って顔を見せたらきっと喜ぶんじゃないかな。
はい。あの人どこへ。
行くぞみんな。
自分の体を外から見る衝撃の大きさは 想像に難くない。体外離脱現象の一種と考えれば解決法もありそうだが、君はエデン症候群の未知なる症状の発症者、イレギュラーな被害者なのだろう。それが分かっただけでも成果はまずまずとしておこう。調査は焦ってはいけない。慌ててもいけない。ただひたすらに粘り強く、鉄頭鉄尾堅固な黒金のごとき忍耐力で当たれ。父の言葉だ。さて本題だが、君はこれからどうするつもりかな。元の体に戻りたくはないか。依頼にはエデンや安心しな。君の能力は期待してる。よし、君はコーヒーを入れてこよう。海ぶどう粒あんコーヒー見かけも。では
てかまあそうけど、ちょっと心配。大事な時になると君にも。電脳探偵に何それ。電脳探偵？別にいいけど。てかいいか悪いかもわかんないけど、まあハッカーになるとかより全然いいかも。てか新た、なんかちょっとへこむな。嘘つかれてたわけじゃん。あれから会ってないんだ。やだな、気まずいな。こういう時は地味犬のし
挨拶かなりさて反電の新宿君のことがその間又吉家それと君の母親御さんが君が倒れたと聞いて君からも親御さんの安心したようで親御さんの件はでは
強いて問題、資金に足にして初めてあの後運営にどうかどうにも少なくともまあそれまた
お前こん海外たく最近四六時中家じゃつうかお前だよお前でなあさくら聞いたかよこいつ電脳探偵になったってよおいってばさわさわうわつうかお前バンドだよバンドなんか最近地味に売れてんだぜ何がいいんだかまあ曲はそこそこ良かったりするけどよとにかくお前が電脳探偵になって学校サボりまくってるってことは分かった送別会したのにな俺泣いちゃったのになけどこれからもお前に会えるならへへ
その様子なら。ところで話は変わるの。現在君のそのためコネクトジャンプで侵入できるとしても不正なアカウント扱いではまともにそのような状態では職務にも差し障る。さておやつお預けをくら仕事の約束した時刻どようこそ。失礼。
あなたは。
おお、君たちは知り合いか？
いえ、知り合いというほどでは。
まあいいでしょう。依頼人の山科優子さんですね。
はい、私が山科優子です。
では依頼内容を伺いましょう。そちらのソファーへおかけください。
はい。父が
消えたとは？
行方不明になってしまったんです。探偵さんには消えてしまった父山科誠を
お父様に関する情報はありますか？
はい、父の基本的な情報はこちらにデータを送ります。ですがその中アカウント情報
呼びかけても応答しない。
全く反応がありません。父を。
わかりました。お引き受けします。ではすぐに調査を連絡先を教えて。
いえ、その必要はありません。しばらくしたら。それではこれで失礼します。
なるほど。山科誠のアカウント情報が確認できた。結論から言えばアカウントの動きに最近巷を賑わし、君にはまずアカウントの乗っ取りはエデンで聞き込み調査をすればアカウント狩りに出番だ、ワトソン君。
行くぞみんな。 無理しちゃダメだよ。